I'm sorry I'm still in my suit.
So we started the record. Thanks for jumping on with me, Dave. To get things started, before we get to our list of questions, I'm just going to share my screen and we'll quickly play a little highlight reel from the national championship. I got to pull it back to the beginning because I watched this a few times. Can you hear that or no?
No.
Yeah, I think I forgot to do the share audio.
You have to send me that. I don't think I have a copy of that.
You don't have this one yet?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll shoot it to you afterward.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Now it'll work. Here we go.
I'm gonna play for you guys.
So there it was. Before I jump into the questions, maybe you just want to talk a little bit about what it was like having the opportunity to host the national championship, some of the best teams in the country, and then obviously making it through to win.
You know what? I mean, honestly, I was honored. I mean, this dream kind of came a couple of years ago when we were lucky enough to win the 2017 provincial championship. And with all the hard work that Ken and his staff have done about upgrading the field there, and it just kind of, it came about. I remember the day I was sitting at home and Ken phoned me and goes, "Hey, I put in to host the national championships in 2019. You good with it?" And I'm like, "Let's give her and see how it goes." And, you know, getting to go to 2017 Nationals in Nanaimo, and then I went out with Ken to 2018 in Charlottetown, just getting a feel for it was really good. So hosting and the job that we did hosting, I was like so proud of. And then to top it off is being able to win our first national championship for the men's soccer program, and you know, for the hard work of all the people that put it, their time in the school over the years, all the championship we've hosted, to have a championship winning team for one that we've hosted was phenomenal as well. It was, that for me was great for Ken, for the staff and everything that everybody, Dwayne and all the Mike and all the people that have put in so many years and hard work over those years to host stuff for the school. Because I mean, predominantly we host as much as we can for a school our size. We do a phenomenal job hosting, and we take on a lot more challenges than others are willing to. And I think it's just phenomenal. It says a lot for a program, and it helps us attract athletes as well.
And I know from being at every single one of those games, it was really good competition. The teams were some of the best from across the country. I know I really enjoyed watching the team from Quebec there, Champlain. They had a lot of fun. And then anytime our team hit the field, there was always a great crowd. The environment was electric for every single one of the primetime games you guys got to play.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, for picking primetime, I mean, playing in the prime time for us, that was most important for the school, to get as many people out as we can, the parents, the community. We had a great uprising from the community. It was looking around. I remember on the finals night, you know, you kind of zoned in on the game, and there was a bit of a lull in playing. I turned and looked behind me, and in the area that was supposed to be empty was full of people like soccer coaches, club presidents and stuff, and university and college people from, you know, from our own campus. And just to see the support from our entire community to come out and watch us, and the local clubs, FC Durham, Tom Croft, and all the guys from that club. It was just amazing to see the people supported us and have helped put a lot of people through our program over the last 4 or 5 years. It was just nice to see them and have them be part of it.
So moving on to our questions that we have here for the coaches series, we did a similar situation with this in the summer. And from those sessions in the summer, I've pulled a list of questions. These are probably some of the most consistent questions that were asked by student athletes or recruits, whether it's at our open houses or through these sessions. So Just to get going with the very first question, what is a typical week like with your team? Let's say during a normal season, and let's say what's the week like starting from Monday to if you have a game day on a Saturday?
So Monday, game day on Saturday. Well, Monday, generally for us, if we're coming off of a weekend, we come in. That's a day for recovery for the guys that have played a lot over the previous weekend, depending on minutes. We kind of look at the minutes. And for the guys that haven't had a chance to play, we tend to get them into high impact, high speed stuff, a little bit of fitness, because the hardest thing to do is balance when you have a starting lineup, when you have a squad of 23, 24, is to keep everybody fit and at the same level throughout the season. So typically we use Mondays to try and keep everybody on the level. That way everybody has an opportunity to be a starter. Everybody has an opportunity to play. And we're picking and working with our best lineup that we have that week through injury. Sometimes injuries affect us, suspensions we unfortunately get from time to time. So really Mondays is set up that way. Tuesday is really just some work, the whole team getting in. And then Wednesday, Thursday, we start to narrow down issues we had in the previous game, work through our set pieces, and then we look ahead to our opponents. The good thing now is we get to watch our opponents a lot more than we ever used to. Don't have to drive miles to watch them. You just simply watch the videos. And I think that was important for us, even nationals. We picked up on something that VIU had done to the other two teams they played on one of their set pieces where they'd scored most of their goals in the tournament. We were able to eliminate that pretty much through the game, which benefited us. We took away something that they were doing, and just with a simple restructure on how we defended corner kicks. So stuff like that we go through Wednesday, Thursday, and then you're prepping depending on when your game is. We try to give the guys 1 or 2 days off a week. If we can, it just depends on our schedule. If we have a weekend off, if we play a Friday night game, we'd always give them the weekend off. It's just, it's resplendent to what we see in May. We have an idea looking in, but generally you're there about 5 nights a week training.
And then kind of piggybacking off that question right into the next one, can you just kind of break down what a typical practice for your team, how it runs all the way from the guys showing up early, maybe if they need AT, and then into the end of practice, whether there's any type of cool down or anything you guys might do?
Yeah, so what we do is we work a lot with our athletic therapy team as much as we can. They're resplendent on helping us with injuries. For me to rely, my background is in injury prevention. Their background and what they're learning in school is injury prevention. So what we try to do is use them as much as possible through our warm-up process and in our cool-down process. And then obviously any athletes are in, it's a mandatory requirement. If you need taping, that you're there 30 minutes before. And then if there's guys that are struggling, we let the therapy team really have a lot of say in things for us. And the reason for that is it's really important that we keep our athletes on the field. And a prime example is last year, Jose had a hamstring issue that we were struggling with, couldn't figure out. And we just decided, the athletic therapy team, the two students that were working with us, as well as Allison, decided maybe it's best we shut him down. He was ready to play on our long trip, but we felt it was best him not sitting on a bus for that long, to 9 hours to Sioux. So we kept him back, and then he just turned out to be, he was ready when nationals came and was phenomenal during the national championship for us, because we had him back fit, ready to play, and we'd eliminated the injury concern we had. So, the reality is practice for us, that starts out that way. We get our players through that. We do a good warm up, make sure we're warmed up. And it's, again, temperature changes, right? We get warm days, we get cool days as we get later in the season. From there, we run through, we do a lot of, we have a lot of stuff, the technique stuff that we work through. So our warm-up incorporates a lot of technique stuff, a lot of short passing, long passing. We want to go, basically the intricacies of how we want to play. And then as the week goes on, like I said, Monday is more of a fun day, but a little bit of fitness day for the guys that are subs. The other guys just have a bit of fun off to the side. We try to keep it light on Mondays, but the rest of the week we're building, and we try to play as much as we can. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, if we have it, or sometimes even Tuesday, we'll play 45 minutes, starters or potential starters, depending on our team we're playing, or just a group. We mix and match, and we play. And we'll stop the game, we'll interact. So we want them playing. The best way that Jens and I figured to put our systems in place to have it in real time as opposed to explain it on a board, if we're continually practicing it, by the end of the season, that's what's helped us in 2017, 2018, 2019, is the fact that the guys, when it came time to playing those championships, they were so together with what we wanted to achieve, and all the subs knew what their roles were when they went in, because we didn't change. We made both teams play the same, that it was just really easy for us to move parts around, and we just then had a process in place how we wanted to play against certain teams. It's just really easy to explain. If get in the block, get forward, pressure. Like, we just went through all those scenarios. So it's basically 45 minutes of scenario training every night building into games.
Moving on to question number 3. If you just maybe want to touch on the facilities, obviously you kind of already mentioned the renovations that took place at Vasso's Field. In addition, what's available to you guys there with the field house, your guys' new change rooms that just got added, and then any of the other things athletes might be able to take advantage of, such as like the gym space, the study hall, ETS.
Like I said, part of the wonderful renovation that Ken and the staff and the school put into play was we all got our own individual change rooms. So rather than coming over to the college a little bit earlier than we normally would, you'd be over there. So, you know, for us, getting to see a little bit of the women's game, let the guys chill, relax, kind of get ready. We get the change room set up. We were doing that over in the main building. Now with it having the field, you know, having to use it, getting to use it for nationals, it was fantastic. You'd have the room set up. You'd tell the guys they're responsible to be in just at halftime for the other game. They go in, get themselves ready. We generally step out, give them 10 or 15 minutes to get ready, go in and have our pre. And we don't like to give them too much information pre-game. We've already covered it during the week. It's just more of the confidence boosters, talking about the opponent, talking about where we need to play, and then we let them go play. So the team room is fantastic. 25 slots, each individual lockers for all the guys. Their name tags are on it, their own individual chairs. Just a wonderful place for them to be able to leave their boots and stuff. Like, it's pretty much as pro team and environment as you can get it with what we've got, right? I mean, you would see that in a lot of other places in their training centers and stuff. So, and for the guys to have the ability to go into that on training nights, on game nights, right there at our own complex is fantastic. Because normally in the past we wouldn't have had even a change room for practice. Now they got a home. It feels a lot different. Basketball, volleyball, they've had that for years in the school. Beautiful change rooms over right next to their facility. So it was really nice that the addition that Ken really thought of the athletes when he did that and put the onus on having them have, you know, feel like this is their home. This is where you go. This is your change room. This is your place. And then it's us setting the rules about keeping it clean and tidy. And in terms of the gym, I mean, obviously the gym, a lot of our guys, I have Ron, our captain, he loves to go do a 30-minute workout before he comes to play. So he'll go hit the gym and just pump iron. That's just Ron. He likes to throw his eye, get his biceps looking good or something, and he heads to the gym. So, you know, I'm pretty much in tune with all the pre-game routines of guys, which is kind of sounds funny. So, I mean, obviously they have the gym to go use. We encourage them to use the gym, but at the same time, we work with ETS and our athletic therapy team during the season, especially to make sure we're not overdoing it, because it's very easy to overdo it. So what we're looking for more is their flexion, their flexibility and stuff during the season, keeping them mobile, core, and that being important for us. Study hall is a big thing for me. We have a wonderful study hall over in the main athletic center there that the athletes can use, and I do check in on my athletes to make sure they're using it, that they're doing well in school. You know, it's a quiet space for them to go, and sometimes they just go to hang out, and they might not do much. They might sit in their text and be respectful of the others, but at the same time, the study hall, we have leather chairs, leather seats. I mean, you can't really ask for much more as an athlete to be able to go somewhere that's yours to study, to relax, to in between practices. Or, I mean, we generally train later at night. We're not a midday training session. So get all that done. It's a place for them to go once they're finished school before training for a couple of hours to get their schoolwork done, which is what we encourage as well. And then, I mean, and then obviously we have the wonderful bonus of having ETS, which I'm okay with the athletes going in, doing their hour and stuff. With Manny now taking over from Jeff, I mean, we always have had a great relationship in terms of what our team needs. So their whole program of what they do in off time, and we encourage the subs that are, you know, lead a little bit more to go in and use ETS 1 or 2 days a week if they have time, simply to keep themselves fit and keep themselves flexible and keep themselves ready to play.
And I think my favorite part of the renovation is definitely the media box. Having that allows us to get a little bit better game film for you guys that you were able to take advantage of at Nationals this past fall. And then also at the same time providing us with space that we can actually broadcast all the home soccer games. So if there's any players out of province, or if anybody has family that is dedicated to watching all the games, it's available for them on the conference webcasting service. So definitely an added bonus to the new renovations to Vassos, that's for sure.
And definitely, and I've actually seen a couple of guys on the team have taken advantage of the programs we have. We encourage them to watch their teams, watch themselves, look at what we talk to them about. Sometimes you can explain something to a kid in a game 5 or 6 times and they don't get it, but then you show them on a video afterwards what you meant, and then it makes sense. And I mean, it helped a lot of players last year, and by nationals, a couple of guys that were having a couple of issues, we were able to point it out to them, and then they saw it in real time, and they were able to adjust. And then from there, it was simple, and they were just slightest adjustments. And like I said, having that ability against, like watching VIU's games against, I can't remember who they played first, but they played Humber second, and they scored their two goals the exact same way off of set pieces. And it was just us picking up on, that was the first thing we eliminated. Jens and I watched the game a couple of times, we had that day off before the finals, so we had a team meeting, and that's really what we covered and talked about. They had that amazing player in the midfield there. I can't think of his name right now, the Japanese player, but we just talked about how to just kind of let him play, but not let him play. Like, he can have the ball, but if we recognized, if we just kind of mirrored him across the park, he went left to right more than he went north and south, and that was okay with us. So, I mean, just the ability for us, even as coaches, to watch the videos, helps the players. And then I've seen a bunch of the kids have put together little video packages,
Their highlights,
YouTube packages, highlight packages for themselves. They've used it for whatever, and some of it's just using it to show it to their families. Some of them are, we've got a very diverse team, and a lot of guys have family all around the world, so it's wonderful that they're able to show their families that stuff.
So jumping from there for my next question, we had quite a few people over the summer session asking specifically about athletic therapy. I'll say that's probably one of the best aspects of varsity sport at DC. It's rare that schools will have 2 student trainers embedded with teams, but all of the DC teams have 2 student trainers, either coming from the Ontario Tech Kinesiology program or the Sheridan Athletic Therapy program. So that's what they're training to do. And then on top of that, obviously our athletic therapy space run by our athletic therapists, Allison and Saul, and Jess helping out sometimes too. Can you just touch on a little bit about what athletic therapy is like for the student athletes and how it works for them?
Oh, I mean, obviously, the minute you become a member of the team, you become somebody who's able to access those facilities. My kind of team rule is don't take the space of someone that you don't need to take the space of. And they're really good too with even after the games or after practice. If the guys need ice baths for recovery, we used a lot during nationals. We were able to sneak over and get some ice baths in, just aids in recovery, so you're not as tired in that the next day. But I mean, overall, one of the greatest things that I found in my 7 years there is working with the athletic therapy staff. And I've taken my approach isn't, they don't work for me, we work together. Allison and I and Saul and I have a wonderful relationship, and they've always put some fantastic people with me. And what I allow them to do is actually learn. I want them to make mistakes that we can have discussions about. I want them to be quizzical about what's wrong with a player, make decisions on a player. And I've never questioned when they've come to me, whether we're away or at home, they have the support of Allison, but when you're away and they say, coach, this player can't go back in. Okay, no problem. I don't try and force athletes back in, A, because I look at their long-term use, but B, because I think it's a learning experience for them. And we've had a couple of mistakes over the years, but it's always something that we've been able to use as a fantastic learning tool. They're learning. The players are there learning. We're there coaching. So, I mean, not only am I working with them, I'm also somewhat coaching those guys to, hey, you've got a career ahead of you. Let's go. And I love the fact that Allison mixes we've had male trainers, we've had female trainers, and I love the fact that the female trainers are willing to come out and work with the male athletes. It's a very tough environment. And most of the pro sports right now have a lack of females involved in some of the teams. I mean, the Blue Jays had one a little while ago. You see a lot in American college football. But it's really nice for us here to be able to, and Allison and Saul forethought and thinking that stuff through, is the fact that they allow, that's the world they're going to go in. If they want to work for the Toronto Argos or the Toronto Blue Jays or the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're going to be dealing with male athletes. It's a different breed. It's a different world. And some of the most successful therapists, Chelsea had one, have been female athletic trainers, because they're sometimes related to better by the players. And my players really related to it. And had Emma a couple of years ago, very strong personality. Once she got into her rhythm, and the guys respected her. And that's the biggest thing, is the respect that goes between them, and they're part of our team. They're no less a part of a team than my goalkeeper, my captain. They're just as big a part of the team, if not more integral than some of the players at times, because of what they offer. It's true, because of what they offer and how they keep the team together.
And the fact that they're embedded with the team too. So they're traveling with you guys to away games. They're going with you for exhibitions or anything like that. There's a lot of times when other schools might come to play at Durham, and they don't have a single athletic therapist. So then the fact that you guys have two is able to help out other teams as well. So it's definitely a
Yeah.
huge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, some schools aren't in that position, and we're more than willing to help because, again, it's a teaching environment for them, and it's just staying. They're just part of your squad, and I've had some like wonderful people that I'm still close with today and talk to all the time, and like I give them as many letters of reference as I do my own players, which is another one of the things that we like to offer afterwards. You graduate from here, don't run away. You don't have to forget that coach is here to help, right? So.
Switching over to talk about academics, something that came up pretty often was just what a student athlete might do if there's a conflict between academics and their varsity sport.
So I'm a very open communicator with my players. I'm always asking about how school's going. And the biggest thing for them is, I mean, let's back it up a second and just talk about, they're coming out of high school and they're coming into college and university. It's a little bit different teaching and learning environment. A lot more stuff online. The professors are more like, well, you can read this online later if you can't make class. So it's encouraging, still the in-classroom experience is the best experience you're going to have in a college or university. So I encourage that. And I'm known to grab a coffee and wander from class to class in buildings at both campuses and make sure my athletes, when I ask them where they are, that they're in class, because I want them to succeed. One of my proudest things is, yeah, it's wonderful we've won some championships, but the academic marks of our team in the last 6 years are steadily on the rise each and every year. We had 4 academic All-Canadians. I think we were tied for the top this year, which is to say men's soccer has got one of the top group of students, maybe not through the whole campus of athletes, but to have 4 that achieve that is phenomenal for us. So when it comes to academics, I always remind them they're student athletes. So we have to work together to ensure that their student experience is going as well as their athletic experience. All the kids love to go play soccer. All the guys especially love to go play the sports. They're not as academically inclined as maybe the female players are in the women's team, but and they'll skip a class. Well, I don't let them skip class. I make them show me their schedule. We try and revolve our schedule. We work with the other sports. We've been a bit early. It makes me miss a few guys at training, but we work it through the week, and that's up for Jens and I to figure out how to integrate it so we're ready to play on the weekend. If they're struggling, have tasks, all they have to do is be open and honest. If they're open and honest, we give them the time that they need. I had a couple of years ago, I had a kid that was struggling in school, and I just told him, take a week off, go to class. Let's get your school back online. And within a week, he had himself caught up and ready to go, and it worked out fantastic. It's one of our top players, but we have to be ready and able to deal with stuff like that. The parents are putting them in school. They have to trust that we're also helping put their sons and daughters in the women's team through school properly, and that we're aiding them. That we're not just there for the sport. We're there to win, sure, as coaches we are, and we're going to make decisions to do that. But at the same time, I always remember that they're students first, and athletes. Being an athlete is just part of that wonderful experience of going to Durham College.
And I think one of the best tips I've heard in a lot of these sessions is just at the very beginning of the year, building that relationship with the teachers. As a student athlete, go talk to the teacher, let them know you're on one of the varsity teams, show them the schedule for your sports to see if there are going to be any conflicts, and you're giving them plenty of time to look at it, and you can problem solve and come up with solutions for those. Obviously, the great thing about sports is that the schedule is made well ahead of time. As a student athlete, you're going to know what your practices are going to be. You're going to know what your games are going to be. If you're traveling to Ottawa and you might have to miss a Friday because you guys are jumping on the bus. But having that relationship with the teacher is probably one of the most important things to do at the beginning of the year to help problem solve when anything of like those conflicts might come up.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest challenges for any new student coming into a school is communication. So it's, part of our role is teaching them about communication. If they communicate with me, life goes really easy during the season. If they have ups, if they have downs, we communicate and we can always solve anything. And it's the same with their teachers. A lot of them, I have had instances where athletes have come to me and say, Coach, this teacher won't help me. Well, were you in class? No. Did you talk to this teacher? No. Well, how do you expect to work with somebody if you don't communicate with somebody? It's a pretty simple thing. You go, you get your letter signed, you have them and keep them updated. Invite them to games. Make them feel part of your experience, just like you're experiencing. And we had a bunch of teachers from the fire program and sports management, especially. A lot of my athletes are in sports management and nursing program. We had over the years, we've had people, teachers come. And then they not only come and watch them play, but they come and celebrate their academic success if they're getting academic awards at the end of the year. I've sat with many professor or teacher from my teams and other teams that have got athletes that are on the program. So those are the ones that have been communicated with in their support. So they're going to support them as much as I'm supporting them academically. The teachers are supporting them from an athletic perspective as well.
Switching over to talk about things that athletes can work on kind of leading up to school, going into question number 7 here.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing that an athlete athletically they can work on, say that year leading up to going to college? So maybe it's their grade 12 year, maybe they've done a victory lap, or maybe they're a university student, graduate looking to come back for a post-grad. What's something they can do that year leading up to going to college if they want to be on a varsity team?
I think it's becoming that growth is becoming an adult, and that's really time management. You're taking 17 and 18-year-olds coming into a college environment. So they've had it pretty structured. They go 9 to 3, Monday to Friday, weekends off. Some of them might have a job. They might have soccer. Like, it's a lot more set out for them. Whereas you get into the college environment, you might have 2 classes on a Monday, 1 on a Tuesday, 3 on a Wednesday. You want to fit a little bit of work in there. You've got to make study time, and hey, you've got varsity practice 3-4 days a week. Is time management. I think most of the things that they have to build is start working on their time management skills. The athletes that succeed, and we've had some really good athletes working high level jobs on Canada Post. We have firefighters who've graduated. We've got some people now in sports management and running their own businesses. We just had a couple of athletes hired in fire prevention jobs. And a lot of those are always the good kids that were good at time management. They knew when to study, they knew when to work, they knew they were able to look at their schedule. And the hardest part is during the season. It's really easy in the off season, which is really our indoor season. We don't train as much. So in the outdoor season, it's just managing their time, making the time available for all the components in their life that they have to fit in, including being with their family, because family time is important as well.
And then in a normal summer, you would, of course, have the opportunity to go watch players play that you might be interested in recruiting to Durham College. So when you do have the opportunity to go watch players play, players that you might be scouting, what is it you're looking for when you have the chance to go watch some of those games?
Well, first, athletic ability, their ability to play. But the biggest thing is to play in a team environment. When we've succeeded as a team, we've always had a very core group of players that are just a family. I mean, last year, I'll use Lerone came up with the expression. He'd always say, like with his little British accent, "That's all right." So it built camaraderie amongst the team. So what you're looking for is not only the good athletes, but the good athletes are teammates, good team participants. Because when you have individuals, so I'm looking for players more for our school that are team orientated, that can fit in easily within a group and be a good participant in that group, not an outsider, not a selfish person that's all more about themselves than they are the team. Because when teams succeed, they're a core group of working together. So I'm looking for that ability for them to play in that team environment, to lead within that team environment. We're all looking for leaders. Every team out there is looking for leaders and strong players. But sometimes we can't all have the same player. You've got schools. I think this year there was one guy was 6 or 7 schools he was talking to. Sometimes you don't get those athletes, but what you've got to do is you're still looking to model your school. Jens and I have with John and Bruce, we have core values of what our team is about. So we're trying to address bringing in players that fit to our core values, that are skilled, athletic. I mean, last year was by far the fastest team we've had, and we've had some quick teams, but we were very, very fast last year. But we had good team-based people that are athletic and also genuine, humble in the community as well, because a big part of what we do is giving back to the community.
What about some of the specific skills that might catch your eye when you are going to watch some of these games? Maybe if you want to make it, you can split it by position. What maybe catches your eye about a forward or a midfielder or the back end?
I mean, what you're looking for is, if we're looking for center backs, we're looking for adaptable players, 2 center backs that can play. Like, if you looked at our team last year when we were going through the roster, we're looking for their ability to play elsewhere. Sometimes you don't always get you might have 3 central defenders or 4 central defenders, but you're missing a midfielder in a position. So like last year, we had a center. Our holding midfielder was actually a center back. So we were able to play with 3 center backs and change our look, because we were able to think. So it's our ability to adapt to different positions on the field, I think, is one of the biggest things. Nick Spittle could play right back. He could play right wing. We had the ability, Colin was the same way. Every player we had on the park could have played as the wingers. Can they play at the back, and can they play the thing, and can they play wide? So we're looking to get wide. So we're looking really for their adaptability on the park. That's a big part too. You want skilled players that are adaptable, because they're adaptable. Then you can change within the game. If you're rigid, then and you have to play a certain way the whole time, then you can't adapt to other teams. You can't make changes. Mike from Ottawa is really good at making changes in the game. So we have to be flexible to make changes in the game, or we have to be one step ahead of him going into the game. And it's the same with most of the coaches. It's cat and mouse about what we have and where can we play them to best succeed. So sometimes we play players out of position. We'll ask a right winger to become a right back, but it's because he's quick, and now I can use two fast wingers on the side. So I'm looking for how they can meld in, and what do they have the flexibility to play multiple positions. And that's what we were doing last year, was doing position breakdown when we were picking players for the team. Where can they play? But he's one-dimensional. Can I get away with a one-dimensional player? No. If you looked at our team and you saw a lot of our games, every player could play more than one position, except the goalkeepers.
They're pretty one-dimensional.
If we talk about goalkeeping quickly, I mean, what we're looking for is somebody who commands a game. I played that position, so it's a little tougher for them, but I'm looking for somebody who can command the game. I don't need to be all fancy. What I need them to do is be able to stop the ball and command the game, control their team, and be basically, we're looking at it from a side perspective. I was always taught this when I played. We're looking at it from a side perspective. You'd always get asked from a goalkeeper, because I'm looking north and south, where the coach is looking at the game going east and west. So what can I tell the coach about our north-south direction that's being affected by east-west? And how can we close gaps and stuff? Like, are we getting too wide? Do we need to close? Are we tucking around? The goalkeeper needs to know the intricacies of how we want the team to move, and then command that. He's like kind of the orchestra, the conductor of the orchestra at the back there. He's vocal, he can be a big component of your game.
Huge part of it. So this next one is kind of giving you a bit of a scenario here. Obviously, you've had quite a few different iterations of teams over your time coaching at DC. But say a high school player or a club player or a university player comes out to one of the games to watch one of your teams play. What is that one thing that you think stands out about your teams that they're going to see?
Organized. We're always organized. We're very structured in the way, and more importantly, defend. We kind of freestyle a little bit more. I'm okay with us getting. We have direction that we want to play. When we're going forward, I like a little bit more creativity. But when we're defending, we like to be organized and structured. If you're not organized and structured defending as a team, then you're going to struggle in the college game, especially when you're playing the Humbers, the Algonquins stuff. If you're not structured, they're going to rip you apart, because you need to, if you make a mistake, who's going to cover, who's going to be where. So like I said, we talked about earlier, us working on our structure all the time. What we're trying to do is stay structured. So what stands out about a team is our organization, and then over time is our now organization with speed. Like, those are the two dynamics that I was challenged 7 years ago to change at the school by Ken, and it takes time, and you've got to figure out the right avenue for it. And last year we were lucky we got it right. And you can hit and miss. And the problem, part of the thing is, too, universities get athletes for 4 years. We sometimes do. It's not very often we hand out a four-year letter at college anymore. It's mostly 1, 2, 3 year programs. So we're flipping 50% of our roster every year. So it's making sure that what the 50% you have is melds well with the 50% coming in. And unfortunately, over time, I've had to remove a couple of guys that I might have been on the team the year before, because where the better direction for the team is to replace them with someone new coming in.
And I think from my experience too, watching your teams, either when I was as a student watching and seeing the players you had, or now working at DC, there's always been someone either at the back end or in the midfield that really seems to be the vocal leader and is able to keep the team organized. And that's something that I was able to see from the sidelines as a student, and both now as an employee.
Yeah, like I said, I think the biggest thing for us is that we train them during the week, but put the trust into playing a game. You've been around our games, you've watched our games as both a student and as a thing. We're not screamers and yellers when they play. We let them play, because we've now switched that to the leaders on the park, the captains, or sometimes you have players. We look for players on the park that are vocal and that lead, that aren't necessarily our captains. And captain is a respect position, so you always look, when you're picking your captains, you're always looking for who do the players respect. Who are they going to listen to in that time of need? Because I can walk to a captain and say, it's your day today. I'm not going to say a word. And that's had to happen only a couple times. Bruce Collin was a great leader. Lerone and Collin were good leaders last year. And they were like, played well off each other. Collin was a quiet leader. Lerone was the guy that spoke up when needed to speak up, right? You saw him at Nationals just take the lead, and he was the one telling them. But we brought him in for the experience of, I mean, we were lucky that he chose to come to our school after spending a couple of years at Humber and having that championship experience. So, you know, you're looking to bring athletes in, and that's the thing. We like them to play. We don't want to sit and think, we'll correct at halftime. We'll have conversations with them at halftime. We'll do what we need to do during the game. But for the most part, we're pretty quiet. We let them play. We let the players play the game. I think that's important because then they enjoy the experience more too.
So then just to round this out, just any final tips you might have for someone that is interested in playing college athletics? They're interested in going to the next level and playing some type of post-secondary sport.
What you have to do really is looking through your club experience. And when you're hitting that 15, 16, 17, 18, playing the best available league possible. So in the youth league, it's OYSL. As you get to 17 or 18, it could be League One under 21. It could be on a League One team. A lot of our players now, and that's the one thing that people miss, is that they think, oh, I played in high school, I can come to a college team. But the college teams are so much more advanced than that now. And our league play, obviously you have to play somewhere. We don't have time necessarily to teach you how to play the game of soccer. So you have to come in with that skill set. All we can teach you is the way we want to play. And obviously we adjust every year. Like Jens and I look at our squad and go, okay, we play this way this year just because that'll fit our roster better than playing this way. And so the biggest thing is play at best the level you can be and be a good teammate. Because if you're a good teammate, your skill set and your ability to lead comes out. We're looking for leaders. Leaders are the ones that do well in school. Leaders are the ones that do well in the afterlife. Like, I mean, we've all talked about some of our success stories. And my favorite thing is the success stories we've had from our school, whether it be from the women's soccer team, Madison Hay getting just hired by Durham Regional Police as a police officer, or, you know, my nephew from way back that's now an Oshawa firefighter, Duncan working for Canada Post. We've got all these success stories of athletes that have come through that were the leaders in the organization and the leaders in the college.
And that will wrap it up. So thanks for joining me tonight, Dave. This is always good when we have the chance to do this, and I'm sure we'll be able to have some more coaches series in the future to flesh out any more questions that might come. So thank you very much.
That's perfect. It's my pleasure. And like I said, I'm looking forward to getting through these tough times that everyone's going through, and everybody have a happy holiday season. You and your family have a happy holiday season. I'm sure we'll talk before Christmas, but thank you for everything, and good luck with the rest of the coaches. And I look forward to what 2021 brings us.